Hey up everyone! So today's movie I'm discussing on the channel is the highly anticipated The Fantastic Four First Steps from director Matt Shakman. This is the latest film in the MCU and I've kind of lost count of how many films we're up to now, but I believe this is the first film in phase 6 of the MCU. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you clicked on this video, then it's probably a safe presumption to say that you're probably already at least familiar with the Fantastic Four characters. Like, they've been around a while. They are Marvel's first family, created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. They were very popular in the comic book world, and they have had a TV movie and a couple movie adaptations which have ranged from passable at best to downright disastrous. Yeah, Forst is the poster child for cinematic slop. Oh, that was rough. Honestly though, I didn't hate the Fantastic Four movies that we got in the 2000s. I thought they had their fun moments, but yeah, they definitely haven't aged well. But after Disney acquired Fox, it meant that the rights to the Fantastic Four characters and also the X-Men characters were absorbed and could be placed back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which a lot of people were very excited about. But after so many bungled attempts of making a decent Fantastic Four movie, we kind of needed this reboot to be good. And to be fair, the trailers for this film looked quite promising. Shakman was definitely giving us something different with his approach to the vibe and the style of this Fantastic Four film. Like, instead of, set in modern times, it's sort of harkening back to the nostalgic, retro, futuristic 60s aesthetic of the comic books. And that's one thing to mention, that this Fantastic Four movie doesn't take place in our universe, like the universe that we're familiar with, the MCU. It is within the MCU, but this takes place on Earth 2-8, which is a different strand or a different branch of the multiverse. So while it is in the MCU, it's not the branch that we're familiar with, okay? That's why it looks and feels so different, this film. And I think that's why a lot of people are really excited for this Fantastic Four film, because it looks and feels distinctly different to all the other modern day set, grey visual galore MCU movies that we've got in recent times. So yeah, what Matt Shakman has done was definitely a gamble, but has it paid off? Absolutely. I can finally say we live in a world where we have an actually good Fantastic Four movie. I don't think it's like great or perfection, but did I have a good time watching it? Definitely. It's a very wholesome, enjoyable, and fun superhero movie, and it kind of acts as a palate cleanser for all the other superhero movies that you've watched recently. This film clocks in at just under 2 hours, and it absolutely zipped by. Shakman has done what James Gunn did for Superman and what John Watts did for Spider-Man Homecoming, in that he skipped over the all too familiar plot beats that we already know, aka the origin stories of how the Fantastic Four got their superpowers from cosmic radiation. The film still acknowledges how they got their powers for the newbies in the audience, but we speed through all that by giving us this clever montage at the beginning of the film where this TV host, Ted Gilbert, gives us like a 4-year recap of what the Fantastic Four have been up to since they got their powers 4 years ago. And then we just jump straight into the heart of the story, which is finding out that Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, played in this film perfectly by Vanessa Kirby, is pregnant with her first child, and the father of the baby is Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, played by Pedro Pascal in his legitimate daddy era. They're expecting a baby boy, which means the Fantastic Four is about to become a Fantastic Five, with Ben, aka The Thing, played in this film by Ebon, Moss-Bacharach, and Johnny Storm, aka The Human Torch, played in this film by Joseph Quinn, are about to become uncles. Problem is, they don't have too much time to celebrate because an intergalactic creature arrives on planet Earth called the Silver Surfer, played in this film by Julia Garner, who warns Earth that their planet has been marked for destruction by the planet-eating Galactus. In this strand of the multiverse, I don't think we have the Avengers, but the Fantastic Four have been chosen as Earth's protectors, and it's up to them to try and stop Galactus. And that is all the plot you need to know. So yeah, what do I think of the Fantastic Four First Steps? Well, the reason I think this Fantastic Four film works so much better than the previous iterations that we've got is that this film prioritizes the family dynamics over the superpowers and the spectacle. At the core, this is a film about family and the lengths that we will go to protect our families, okay? This film really has a heart. Honestly, this film hits the theme of family even harder than the Fast and Furious franchise. Yes, there is plenty of action in this film, but it doesn't come at the expense of emotion. There's actual tenderness in this film, something that has been absent from previous Fantastic Four films. And you know how I know this is the best Fantastic Four movie? It made me cry. Yep, there was one scene towards the end where I actually shed a tear. I was like, huh, that was unexpected. But yeah, you really do feel the bond and that sense of connection between the Fantastic Four family. The casting in this film is really good, with Vanessa Kirby being the standout as Sue Storm. I know the bar wasn't set particularly high, but she is hands down the best interpretation of Sue Storm that we've ever had on the silver screen. Okay, Vanessa Kirby brings maternal warmth, compassion, and fierceness to the role of Sue. There is a moment in the final battle scene between Sue and Galactus which gave me goosebumps, okay? I turned to my friend Ben in the cinema and I said, "Call me mother." Okay, it was flippin' fierce. It's that moment where she just unleashes that inner lioness and it just feels so powerful because she's so powerful. I know people had their trepidations about Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards. I am not a comic book reader, okay? I don't really know the nuances of Reed Richards, but I thought Pedro Pascal did a wonderful job of playing Reed Richards. I thought he did a wonderful job of capturing the different facets of Reed Richards' personality and how they can often be an internal clash there, because he is impossibly smart, but he's rational and logical, but he's also very pure of heart and, you know, a family man. So yeah, I thought he was fantastic as Mr. Fantastic. Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm is less smarmy playboy than he is self-assured fun uncle. He's a funkle. So his interpretation of Johnny Storm is different. Not necessarily bad, but I will say I do kind of miss that sort of like cocky attitude that Chris Evans brought to the role. But yeah, in this world of Fantastic Four, Joseph Quinn's portrayal of the Human Torch does feel well suited. Because like I said, the world is a little bit more 60s, it's a little bit more wholesome and idealistic, and he himself is a little bit more wholesome and idealistic here, not some sleaze. Ebon Moss-Bacharach was probably the most shortchanged of the main four. As the Thing, he doesn't really have that much to do here. He does have this sort of half-baked romance with Natasha Lyonne's Rachel Rosman character. And he also gets to grow a rock beard, which is really weird to explain. Like, I've never seen The Thing with a beard before, but I kind of dug it. But I will say he was still very lovable as The Thing. So yeah, what else is good about this film? Well, like I said, visually, this film is so splendid to look at. Like, I really adored the whole Jetson-esque aesthetic. Like, particularly in the Baxter building, it's just got that whole swinging pad vibe. Lots of bold colors, spherical furniture, vinyl players, and of course Herbie the robot. But yeah, the sets and the costumes in this film are some of the best that I've seen in any superhero movie, because they really do have their own identity, okay? They really have a point of view with that whole retro-futuristic vibe. But yeah, Pedro Pascal in a turtleneck, my God. Also, the score in this film by Michael Giacchino is so rousing, so epic. Yeah, he did a fantastic job. And one thing that I really appreciated about this film was that the comedy was very anti-MCU. I really appreciate that the writers didn't feel the need to undercut the sweet or sincere moments in this film with like a witty quip or some Whedon-esque banter. It actually lets the audience bask in those sweet moments rather than undercutting it with a sarcastic comment just for a cheap laugh. So yeah, that's just one more reason why this film feels like a bit of a reset for the MCU. Some of you might be wondering, do I think the film might have any Oscars chances? Honestly, not really. Like, its best chance would be for like a visual effects nomination. If the Academy is going to give a superhero nom, usually it's for, you know, visual effects or sound maybe, unless it's Black Panther. But I will say, I do think this film would be so deserving of a production design nomination, because the sets in this film are absolutely gorgeous. Like, you can tell they were done for real, and they just bring so much personality to this film. But yeah, I don't think it will get the nomination just because the Academy doesn't typically take, you know, sci-fi, space adventure, superhero movies serious for those type of categories, at least not very often. But I would love to be proven wrong. If you guys think Fantastic Four First Steps will get some Oscar nominations, let me know in the comment section down below. As for my negatives, I will say, while I did appreciate the breezy 2-hour runtime, I will say there were moments where it did feel maybe a little bit rushed, but I am glad it did pause for those sweet, tender family moments, like when baby Franklin is born, or when Sue is giving this rousing speech about, you know, protecting one's family. So I will say there are moments where the film does stop to breathe. And normally I would say that 2 hours is a perfect runtime for a superhero movie. I do think, like, this film might have benefited from maybe an extra 10 minutes, just so we could have expanded on the characterization of some of the supporting side characters like Galactus, like Natasha Lyonne's Rachel Rosman, or even the Silver Surfer. They're only really given scraps of backstory and motivations, and while I will say Julia Garner does the best with the little material she's given to add some weight to the Silver Surfer, a little bit more screen time for them could have really done a lot to dive a little bit deeper into the villains and why they're doing what they're doing, because at the end of the day, Galactus is still just this CGI blob destroying planets because reasons, you know? Like, the reason is hunger, but that's all we have to go off of, and it's not a whole lot. I won't say anything about why the Silver Surfer's doing what she's doing, because that could be spoilery. But I will say this film is brought down a little bit by not necessarily uninteresting villains, but just unexplored villains, okay? I wanted more from them. So I do think a couple more villain scenes could have actually benefited the film. And my last negative of this film is the CGI. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of the CGI in this is quite good, and I think the reason why you're more forgiving in this film is because there is such an emphasis on practicality and models. It kind of balances out the sequences which are oversaturated with CGI. But yeah, there's certain shots in this, particular scenes with baby Franklin, which are very uncanny valley. Just saying. All right then, shall we ask them 3 questions? Firstly, would I watch this again? Yes, I definitely would. Not only was this a delightfully fun summer blockbuster movie, but it's one of the few MCU movies that truly works as a standalone film. It's not obsessed with setting up other movies or shoehorning in cameos. I mean, yes, there is some setup for Avengers Doomsday, so make sure to stay for the end credits, by the way. But yeah, that setup doesn't feel as blatant. Yeah, I could just watch this film again knowing I don't have to watch like 5 or 6 previous MCU movies or 2 Disney Plus series in order to follow it. So yeah, I would watch it again, and I think I will be adding it to my collection at some point. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? Yes, and you know why? Because this is what a good Fantastic Four movie looks like, okay? So go see it for yourselves. Seeing is believing. But yeah, it's also a great big screen experience. So yeah, I recommend watching it in a cinema. And take the whole family. I think there's something for everybody here. And third question, what score to give out of 10? Matt Shakman deserves so much praise for doing what nobody else could, which was delivering a well-rounded, thoroughly enjoyable, and emotionally impactful Fantastic Four movie, okay? It can be done! It's not by any means a generation-defining superhero film, but it is the palate cleanser film that the MCU desperately needed. So I'm gonna give the Fantastic Four First Steps a score of 7.5 out of 10. But as always, guys, it is just one bloke's opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts on the new Fantastic Four film. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where does it rank for you in all the Fantastic Four movies? Whatever you have to say, let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. If you enjoyed the vid, help me out by hitting that little thumbs up button for me. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars-related content, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and I'll see you next time.